Manchester United Hour, your one-stop shop for all things Manchester United. I'm your host Imran.
And I'm Jamie.
Yep, you've got me and Jamie today. Nick's off being an international man of mystery somewhere. I think he's going to Morocco, I think. So yeah, we just got the two of us celebrating a win once again at Old Trafford. That's 3 wins on the bounce at home. We're becoming, we're building it into something of a fortress. I say something of a fortress because, you never know when these things might fall apart any minute these days. But yeah, good win on the weekend, 2-0 versus Sunderland. Jamie, just overall thoughts so far on the game?
Yeah, it's nice to have a routine win for a change. We've not really seen too many of them. I know even the wins we've had at home, the last 2 against Chelsea and Burnley, there's been incidents in there. There's been things to be disappointed about despite the wins. But yeah, just for a change, it was just nice to have a routine win.
Yeah, this was about as routine as you can get for us, really. It was 2-0, it was really comfortable. We didn't really look like losing the game at any point, which was, very much a change from what we usually see. Usually we make things as hard as possible for ourselves. But, this game really all came down to that first half performance, and it was a really good first half performance from us, one of our best for quite some time. A lot of threat coming down there, our right-hand side, their left-hand side with Ahmad and Buemo. Lots of chances created, and then 2 goals. Anything in particular you put the solid first half performance down, or was it just a difference in attitude?
I don't really know, to be honest, because even in games that we've lost this season or not played particularly well in, aside from Brentford, I do think we've actually started each game quite well. So I more just expected that to be the case again, that they were going to start on the front foot, get after the other team, get in their faces and try and press and win the ball as high as possible, just purely because, as I said, aside from Brentford, I feel like that's how we've played most of the season. And I think it's not just with ourselves, it's with any team, but the importance of the first goal, especially for us, does seem to be absolutely massive. And these fast starts, we are trying to score the first goal as early as possible. And yeah, I don't really attribute it to anything more than that is how he's wanted us to play most of the season. So I did expect it to just be more of the same, that let's try and start as fast as possible, get an early goal and build from there. It hasn't worked sometimes, but yeah, it was good to see that it actually did work this weekend.
Yeah, and like you said, fast starts, particularly at Old Trafford, have been a thing this season. We definitely look to get out the blocks early. And you said we've done it in every game, pretty much, apart from the Brentford game. There was also the idea that we were going a lot more direct in this game. I think the Sunderland manager commented on it afterwards. And I think if you look at Lammens, I think he kicked the ball long twice as many times as any other keeper has in our nets this season, something like that. It was a bit more apparent that we were going, higher up the pitch straight away to avoid the press maybe. But also, we got a big lad Sesko up front. He is actually good at winning headers, and we were pretty good around getting around him for the second ball. Thoughts on our more direct play? Is it something that bothers you? Are you unhappy that we're not playing pretty fancy football out the back, or are you totally fine with it?
No, I'm fine with it, to be honest. I think one of the aspects we really struggle with is building from the back. I just don't think we've got defenders, apart from maybe a couple in Yoro or Mazraoui, that are particularly comfortable with the ball at the feet, looking to break the lines, looking to try and get us away and on the front foot. I don't think we have too many centre-backs that are able or willing to do that. And with the current situation in midfield, where I feel like most games were really under pressure because of the pairing, whether it's Casemiro and Bruno like it was at the weekend, or if it's then Bruno and Ugarte or Mainu comes in, I just think we're always under pressure in the midfield. So while we actually do have Sesko up front, who, as you said, he's good at winning headers, he's good at making a nuisance of himself against defenders and looking for the flick on, looking for the touch on, and then you've got the likes of Mbumo and Mount and Kinya that are around him. I think it's almost like necessity at this point. I think, yeah, fair enough. Just do something different to try and change the tide at the moment, where we try and play out from the back, doesn't really work. We get out muscled in midfield and inevitably go a goal behind, and we're then chasing the game with a style of play we already can't play. So I just think, yeah, it's fair enough for me that you change it up a bit, you go a bit more direct, try and use the strengths of the front line that we now have, and it definitely seemed to work in that first half on Saturday.
Yeah, plus, if you mix these things up, then you can find yourself playing out of the back easier when you do choose to do it, because they're not going to fully commit to a press if they know that the ball might go over the top.
Yeah.
So mixing things up can just keep the element of surprise in there and help you out depending which way you go. And also, it's probably worth saying, if you're going to go long, a team like Sunderland's probably a better team to go long against, because you know that you might lose the ball going long, but if you do lose the ball to Sunderland, there's a good chance you'll get it back sooner than if you lost the ball to, say, Manchester City or someone like that.
Yeah.
But obviously, then if you play it short against Manchester City, there's more chance of them pressing you into a mistake. So these things give and take. But yeah, I didn't mind it at all. And it gets us on the front foot quicker, which is nice to see. We actually seem to be a lot more penetrative in what we were trying to do. Get Ahmad up the pitch, down the line into the box, taking shots. Same with Mbeumo. Their keeper made a couple of really good saves. One from Bruno that was really excellent. So it was just nice to see us, attack and be proactive and aggressive. And ultimately, we got our reward for it with 2 goals. So the first one came after Mbeumo put a ball into the box. Lovely touch from Mount, lovely goal from him. He actually had a really good game, Mount. He has had a really good season so far, to be fair. It's just, again, he got a little tiny injury, but ultimately he's looking like he's starting to, 2 years later, prove some worth in this team. And to be fair, his quality was never really doubted. It was more just, staying fit. But if he can stay fit, how do you see him and Mbeumo and Cunha fitting? Because Cunha's dropped to the bench in this game, and ultimately, off the back of the result, you have to say that was the right call.
Yeah, I think me and you, in particular, were some of the ones that definitely questioned the Mount signing at the time. And as you said, it wasn't anything to do with quality. It was to do with fee paid, wages paid, availability through injury, because that had already started becoming a bit of a problem at the end of his time at Chelsea, and we had other pressing needs. So it was nothing really personal against Mount. It was just, I just never really understood the signing at the time. But this season, and even at times when he was available last season, he has proved, if we are wanting to be playing a style of play, we changed it at the weekend, but ultimately, if we're trying to play a style of play where we're pressing really high, players are having to work really, really hard, covering different areas of the pitch to try and win the ball back and then push as high as possible, as quickly as possible in transition. He is a really good player for that. It is just a question of injury, so it was good to see him get a goal at the weekend, because he has started the season well. He did get that injury, but thankfully it wasn't one that was too bad. It was actually a well-taken goal, as you said. I think it was a really good piece of control with his left foot and then just immediately following it up with his right. And he's been quite clever as well, because he's used the defender in front of him to just shield where he's shooting the ball. So by the time the keeper reacts, he's not really got much of a chance because it's already past him. So that was a really good bit of play. Going forward, I do wonder if this means the likes of Zirkzee is just never going to play, because we have now such a precise system with certain players for said system up front. So it's always going to be Sesko up front, or if he's unavailable or they want to change something up, I would imagine Cunha is the one that goes to 9, just because that seems a little bit more natural. If it's always going to be Sesko there, for example, at the 9, your 2 10s, it's just always going to be Mbeumo, who I think's excellent anyway, and really good on that right-hand side. It's always going to be him. And the other left is always going to be either Cunha or Mount. And you're right, at the weekend it was correct that he dropped Cunha and put Mount in. It's worked, he scored, and there was a really good performance in the first half. But I do just wonder if this means Zirkzee is just never going to play, and other players are just never going to play in the 10s, because we now have 3 really good options there. And then even moving forward, like say from January, if they go and get another midfielder in, which then frees Bruno up to be a bit more free between playing central midfield and an option at 10 again, it just means that there's routes into the team that are just becoming blocked, and I'm not sure where certain players play. This isn't me saying Zirkzee should be in the team or anything like that. I just wonder if there's now people on the bench whose routes into the team are just really blocked off due to the lack of games, due to the fact we're only going to be playing Premier League until January. Does this
that's
mean...
the thing, isn't it? We're out of Europe, we're out of the League Cup. This was always going to be I say problem. It's not a problem, but this was always going to be the thing this season. There's not a lot of games, and I think Zirkzee, probably out of anyone in the squad, is the one who will suffer the most from this. Arguably, when we get all that, when we get Martinez back as well, Maguire might suffer from this as well, and even Aiden Heaven suffered a bit this season. Like, how often have we seen Heaven?
I think he's only is it one appearance in the league?
Yeah, I think so. So and he's, I really rate Heaven. I think he's really good. So this is going to be the problem until the busy period in December, where we might see a bit more rotation. It's just not gonna, it's going to be difficult for people like Zirkzee to get into the team. But I feel like, it's between Cunha, Mount, and Mbeumo, you can need 3 quality 10s, and we've got that, and especially with Mount's injury troubles, I'm sure Cunha will see lots of game time. I actually think he'll start against Liverpool, but we'll talk about that a bit later. It's just, people like Xerxes, it's going to be difficult for them to get really any meaningful minutes. But, maybe that's not he can just be that deputy striker come on. I was surprised he didn't come on in this game at the end. If there's a game that's, dying and you want to give someone minutes, I thought this was a perfect time for him. But, yeah, it was good to see Mount get on the goals, on the score sheet. Need him to stay fit, need him to keep it up. And then after that, we, kept on pressing our advantage. Couple of shots in, good saves from the keeper, like I said. And then the second goal came from the in thing at the moment, which is long throws. They're back.
Yeah.
Rory Delap is somewhere. I was going to say Rory Delap is bouncing in his grave, but he's not dead. So, he's bouncing somewhere. And Diogo Dalot, who used to, really big himself up for these throws. I remember I used to go to Old Trafford and he used to be there and he used to be like, get down the line, and he'd push people back further and further, then he'd just throw it to the guy right in front of him who was usually their opposition player. But now he can actually lob a ball now. He can actually lob a ball into the box, and that's pretty much the only thing I can do because he was rubbish other than that. But how do you feel about long throw United?
Yeah, it's ultimate Barclaycard Premiership, isn't it? It's just a complete throwback, as you said, to Delap times and...
But everyone's doing it now. Literally every team is doing it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a thing where... the game now has become so tactical, as in, really, you don't really see many opportunities from free play. The game is so orchestrated and organised now around set pieces. Like, if you watch Match of the Day and just watch every single game, so many opportunities that are made in games now are set pieces, corners, long throws. That's just the way it is. It's almost like the game has just become so structured around those opportunities. And even in our WhatsApp chat and the Discord chat, we've spoken about it so many times that we play against teams, and again, corners, free kicks, set pieces, whatever it is, we always seem to be on the receiving end of. We don't really deal with them very well, but then at the same time, we don't really put any pressure on ourselves. So while all this is going on, we may as well actually try and orchestrate something from long balls, long throws, set pieces, because that, as you said, that is literally what everybody's doing. And it's not just ourselves that struggle with it. You saw Sunderland struggle to deal with just a throw-in, a long ball in. And why not? We've actually got a really big, strong, physical team. So when you can really put pressure on like that, just go for it, do it. It just seems to be the end thing at the moment, and it does seem like a total throwback to 20 years ago, which, well, for the nostalgia in me, it's pretty fun to watch. But I think Sesko is actually now just starting to get a bit more confidence, and the fact that he even just plays like a proper striker and just anticipates that at the front post there's either going to be a flick on or there's going to be a mistake where the ball just drops to the edge of the 6-yard box and he's right there, bang, just passes it in on the volley. It was a good striker play, and it's good to just see that from him. But yeah, I'm a fan of Get It Launched anyway, so yeah, it's quite fun to watch.
Yeah, so Sesko was the one who put the finish in after, I think it was a Sunderland player who nodded on the
I think it was a defender flicked it on, yeah.
Yeah, they were a bit all over the place, but it was a really tidy little, striker's instinct finish. 2 in 2 games for Big Sesko. I thought this was his best game for us to date, not just because of the goal. I think the stuff he was doing off the ball was really neat and tidy. He's clearly got quite... his technical levels seem to be above that of Højlund. I think that's quite apparent very early on. Close control. He actually held off one of the, is it Hulme? Hulme, I think, is their big lad who likes to, put it up him.
I think that's how you pronounce it, yeah.
Yeah, did a pretty good job of holding him off at times, showing some good strength. So, yeah, I thought, very encouraging signs. And yes, it's only Sunderland, but Sunderland have started the season well. And you've got to be encouraged by that sort of performance.
Yeah, I said on the last pod with Nick, when we were talking about this game, I was worried just purely because when anything I've seen of Sunderland, they're a big physical team as well. They've got plenty of athleticism. They've got good runners in midfield. And they're actually very hard to score against as well. They don't really concede many goals. So it was encouraging to actually see we could score 2. And then, as you said, there was loads more opportunities. Ahmad had a good shot that the keeper saves well, and Bumo had a shot, saved well as well. The save from Bruno is one of the best I think you'll see all season, really. The almost kind of like the chip effort to the far post, and he saves really well onto the post. That was a good save. So even just to see that we were making so many opportunities, yes, okay, it's against Sunderland, but yeah, as I said, they haven't really conceded many goals. They don't really look like conceding many as well from reading the reports in their games and the stats as well. So, no, it was really encouraging in the first half. And yeah, I just even if it means that we do need to vary the style of play, become a bit more unpredictable instead of this ponderous kind of style of play that we've had for a lot of the season so far and last season, it's just encouraging. I mean, yeah, okay, take it with a massive pinch of salt because of who they were playing and everything else attached to that. But yeah, I just thought it was encouraging.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll keep talking about this game. Welcome back. So yeah, the only other thing of this first half was the Sunderland penalty incident. A bit of a weird one at first because it seemed like the ref, the ref did give a corner, but then he consulted his linesman, and then between the two of them, they gave the penalty. But then VAR actually did what VAR's meant to do and, step in and overrule. So it took a bit long to get to the right decision. The only thing that Sunderland probably should have got an indirect free kick in the box for a high foot, because there was no contact, it was just a high foot. But that was really only it, and it wasn't that controversial a moment. Other thing that I wanted to mention was how, I think, was it Adingra who came off for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, Adingra came off in the first half, and Sunderland kind of adjusted, and it was from after that point that, we didn't really do much in the game for the whole game pretty much after that. We had moments, but there was nothing really going on, and you could say that's because, we were 2-0 up and, that's the game and settled, etc. But also, it's this thing how we start these games well, the opposition change something or do something, and then we don't respond to that. And I don't know in this game if it was that idea again, or it was just 2-0 and job done. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
No, it's interesting you say that because this is one of the problems I have with Imran is too many times I think something happens in game, whether it's a decision made by the ref, if it's a change the opposition have made, or even a goal for the opposition. I think he's either too slow to react, or he's too unwilling to do something to change how we are playing in the game. it's a bit more difficult this weekend, as you said, because they're 2-0 up, and maybe he's just decided, I don't know, for the sake of the team and the narrative that's going on at the moment, just get this game seen through. And if that means, for the vast majority of the second half, you don't really have a chance and you just finish the game 2-0, so be it. I don't know if that's what happened this weekend, but the patterns and the evidence before you does suggest it's more down to the manager and the decisions he makes, because as you said, I don't know how many times, not just this season, but last season, something happens in game and we just don't react. So it's almost like he's planned for the 11 that we are going to be playing against, the style of play, the setup that the other team is going to play. That's what we plan for. But then, as you said, ultimately, if there's an injury or the other manager just decides to change something and do something else to try and get back into the game, to try and force us onto the back foot, I just don't really see anything coming from the manager to vary the style of play, to do something else. And again, I'm probably picking it apart a little bit too much here because we won 2-0 at the weekend, but it is just going off of existing proof that you can see in other games where the same thing happens. There's a change, something else affects the game. And I don't know how useful Imran is at being able to react to something that happens in game. We've not had too many examples where things have worked. There's the Lyon game last year where we fight back into it and things like that, but I more mean in the league. I honestly do think we struggle if something happens in games that we then have to react to it. It's just like we just can't do it, and I don't know if that's more down to the players, because the players get a bit lackadaisical, they get a bit comfortable and see the game out. But I do think it's more, we need a bit more from the manager. And it's difficult to say at the weekend because it's a win, but I think there is something in that myself, yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it's difficult to judge it based on this game. But it's just something that's always in the back of my mind. Like, we're so set out in how we play, and obviously we changed it up a bit with the approach in this game, and then obviously Sunderland react to that. But then, where's our reaction to that? And it's also apparent, we do need to score the first goal in these games. If we score the first goal, you always think, right, that's kind of we've settled it now. We're in this game. But if something goes wrong for us, and this I feel like is definitely more on the players. If things start to go wrong, then there's issues that I think the players struggle to mentally to get back into the game a lot of the time. A few exceptions, obviously, but it does feel like the first goal is important. That's why when we scored after 7 or 8 minutes, it's a big tonic. It's for the crowd. The crowd settles, the players settle, and you can just tell in our football. Then we just play a lot better once we know things are going to go our way a bit.
Yeah.
We're a very much confidence team at the moment.
Well, you were at the game on Saturday. What was the atmosphere like before the game?
I was not at the game on Saturday, Jamie.
No,
thank you for exposing my top red card. I was not. No, I had to. The wife was ill, so I had to look after my child. I had to babysit, if you will, babysit my own child.
Oh, mate, that doesn't affect your top red status. Come on.
Well, we'll see. We'll see in the comments. So apparently the atmosphere was. I talked to my brother though. The atmosphere was apparently pretty good. Better than you would expect for a Saturday 3:00 game against Sunderland. So that is something, and I think the early goal helps with that. The team aren't getting on the team. I think because you can imagine a completely different scenario where Sunderland scored in the first 5 minutes and the crowd are on the team's back already.
Well, it's funny you say that. They did have that chance where
they did a massive chance.
The guy squares it, and then I think is it Isidore that plays up front for them. He literally just misses the ball. And it's basically, if he gets anything on that, that's probably a goal because it's only 5 yards out. And yet again, it's Dalot just sleeping where the guy comes from the reverse side of him, and all he's got to do is get a foot on it, and he just misses the ball. But yeah, that's the reason I was asking, because I thought if it was pretty good before it would have been, well, not interesting, but you know what I mean. It would have been curious to see if that goes in. what would the reaction of the fans been? Because that was in the first few minutes.
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, thankfully we never had to see what happens, but
Yeah.
I do think could have been different with the crowd getting on the back and then things getting a bit bitty and the panicking a bit on the ball. So it would have been interesting to see, not in a good way. But like I said, the early goal is so important for us at the moment, I think, and we got that goal and it just settled the whole thing. A couple of not really that much to talk about in the second half. It was pretty much a big non-event. I can't even think of we didn't really make any chances, but then we didn't need to. They had two chances. One, the big swirly ball up top when that get there, and their lad went through and he didn't really dive. He got yellow card.
It just fell
he
over.
Just I didn't think it was a foul, but I don't think it was a dive either.
There is sometimes in football things like that happen where you just lose your balance a bit and go over. I didn't think it was a dive either. But it definitely isn't a foul, but it's not a dive.
Yeah.
It's just one of those that there's just a bit of a coming together. That was it.
Yeah. I think you kind of wave that play on kind of thing. That's what I would have done in that situation. And then right at the end of the game, lad goes through 1-on-1. Terrible finish, but Lammens saves it. And that's a perfect thing for Lammens to have, I think, because he was having a great debut anyway in terms of, looking assured, looking confident, dealing with things. But he hadn't really made that save. He made one save from range, but you'd expect him to make that every time from Xhaka. But he hadn't made like a big save, and I think that 1-on-1 save at the end was kind of massive for him. I think it'll be massive for his confidence. But it was nice to see a normal goal. He looked like the most normal goalkeeper in the world, and I mean that with so much massive compliment. He just looked like a boring goalkeeper, and we've been crying out for a boring goalkeeper, if you ask me. None of this fancy, flashy nonsense. I just want a goalkeeper who's big, tall, and looks big and tall and catches things.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, we've just not had it for that long, and we were so comfortable for so long with De Gea, but even at the end, De Gea was just making mistakes, and that was the right decision to let him go as well. But that's just a comfortable, boring presence, as you said, is absolutely what was needed. We've not had it for a number of years now. We've not had even the fact that he just looked comfortable, just coming and claiming the ball in the air, clearing guys out to make sure he was the one catching the ball, kind of getting on at the defenders. I've seen it parts as well, actually, opening his mouth and having a bit of a go and trying to make sure people were in the right position. Getting the clean sheet's massive, absolutely. And yeah, I just think I would leave him in net now. I would not be mucking about too much with the goalkeepers anymore. He looked fine, he looked absolutely comfortable, and while, yes, we might still lose games or he might make the odd mistake, whatever, I would much rather just see him in net from now on and just let him become comfortable in goal. Because it's already difficult enough with the fact that the back three change as much as they change. Other parts of the team change as much as they change. I would just like to see him now just be the number one choice. Just pick him every single week and let him just build his confidence up, because that, on Saturday, that was an excellent start for him. Clean sheet, no real points of controversy at all. Big save at the end. Decent save from range and good in the air. Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that and happy to see it. And yeah, I just don't want to see any more mucking about with the goalkeeper.
Yeah, totally agreed. He should just be our number one now. He might make some mistakes, but I'm willing to bet he'll be a lot more calm and assured and do a lot more better. That's terrible English. Do better stuff than he will mistakes, and he will make some mistakes. He's a young lad. But I think we just need to stick with him and go for it. And I think he definitely passed the look test, I think, for his first game out. He looked the part, and I also quite like that. He seemed quite comfortable kicking along with both feet.
Yeah,
which is a bit of an underrated skill for a keeper to have. So that was good to see. I am, like I said, also a big fan of the get rid club. You don't need to faff about sometimes. Just get rid. And if he's prescribing to that as well, great stuff. Because again, it's doing that sort of thing will avoid mistakes as well. And the more mistakes he avoids, the longer, the more confidence he'll build, and the better he'll be in that position. But I think that's his shirt to lose now. And I think, Brian Deer there's been videos circulating of him, going up to Lammens and congratulating him after the game, and that, that's good to say. I don't think Brian Deer probably has been under any illusions that he's United's number one keeper forever, and I think he came here with the idea that it would be our number two, and I think that's a fine role. That I'm pretty happy with Brian Deer as our number two. He's not great, but he's a number two. That's fine. He can stay there, and we can just build on Lammens, and hopefully by the end of the season we have a good solid keeper, and that's not a position we have to worry about. Was there anything else from this game that you picked up on? I can't really think of anything else. There was a good performance from. I thought Casemiro was decent. Centre backs were all decent. Yeah, not really much else to say.
No, the only thing I was going to say is that I was just pleased that, again, I've just said about how much the back three changes, but I was pleased to see Euro come back in and move De Ligt back to the central position, because I don't think De Ligt was very good last week. He was certainly at fault for the second Brentford goal, but moving him back into the middle of the back three I thought was a good decision, and it was another good solid game from him, because as I said, apart from one game, I think he's maybe not comfortably our best player, but certainly in the top two or three of who's playing well this season for us, and that was good to see as well. I'm a huge fan of Euro. I would just much rather he was in the team than not.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Don't want. I was fine with Maguire coming in for a bit, but I think Euro is the standout. One of our standout centre backs, and probably needs to play a lot more than Maguire. And I like Maguire, obviously. Still think he has a role in the team, but yeah, I think that back three of Euro, De Ligt, and Shaw looks alright. But I can still see. I think Martinez can come in for Shaw as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Shaw's fine for now, yeah, but
he's fine for now. He's too inconsistent. He was. He goes from being. He was fine against Sunderland, but then you can just imagine him going against Liverpool in 2 weeks' time being absolutely terrible. And that's just Luke Shaw things. Speaking of Liverpool, we will take a quick break here again, and then when we come back, we'll talk about that big game coming up. Now, before we get previewing the Liverpool game, just a quick word on the United women, who played Chelsea on Friday night and got a pretty good 1-1 draw, if you consider that Chelsea are by far the best women's team around. It's not even close, really. They'd had a 100% record before this game, so actually a draw is a decent result for United. Probably what they want to achieve, which is Champions League football again. I didn't actually see any of the game. I'm just reporting on the highlights and reports. Did you catch any of this?
Yeah, I did. I caught some of it. Yeah, most of the second half, and I managed to catch some of the highlights again after the game for the first half. I actually thought United did enough to get more than one goal. But as I said to Nick on the last one, is when we were previewing this Chelsea game, we just, in the league, we really, really struggle against them. I think it might have even been we've lost every time we've played against them in the league, other than one win in the cup. So any kind of points that we got from the game on Friday was always going to be a positive, that was good. Stopped them in their 100% form and managed to get a point at home. You're never going to be disappointed with that, but there was a couple of really good chances that they had from Mallard and from Toon, I think, in the second half, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, it's a positive result. Definitely just take that and move on. United are still unbeaten, which is great. And then I think that's the European games now starting to come up as well. So even just to come into those games off the back of a good performance against Chelsea, one where they maybe could have got a little bit more than the point, but yeah, ultimately not going to be disappointed with that. So just good to see that they're still going from strength to strength, and I am worried a little bit about the lack of depth in the squad, but hopefully everybody just remains fit, get other key players back, and keep going from there.
Yeah, good summary, Jamie. Another bit of news, and you'll be delighted to hear this, Jamie, but Howard Webb has apologised for what was an error. Again, can you believe this? There was an error from VAR No, it genuinely was. It was a mistake. You never guessed it. So yeah, that was I thought a random aside, just ridiculous, really.
Why even announce that? Really? It does absolutely nothing for us. Everybody knew it was the most ridiculous error anyway. And so it's just, the whole acknowledging it after it, when it's literally not going to change anything, is I don't know.
It's not even I don't mind. I just do it straight away though. Just do it literally after the game. It's like, yeah, we got this wrong in the game. You know, it doesn't need to come out like a week. It just screams of incompetence. Really, it's just like, okay, how can we justify this decision for a whole week? No, we can't. We have to just say straight after. Everyone can see it was wrong. Just say it after the game. Look, we got this wrong. We'll put X, Y, Z in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. I just thought it was funny, to be honest with you. It's ridiculous.
Even the fact that even Dermot Gallagher on Sky Sports, they asked him about it on that stupid Ref Watch programme where he just defends the refs non-stop. Even that decision, he was like, yeah, that's wrong. That wasn't right. So I was like, well, there's definitely an apology coming in if even Dermot on Sky is sitting saying, no, that was wrong.
Yeah, it's just made me laugh. How it took a whole week. So yeah, so I guess now, you know, we have to look forward to. I mean, there's an international break, so a couple of the players are going on leave. A lot of will be staying back.
You're not the biggest fan. Are you the biggest fan of England? I can't remember in the chat who's the biggest fan of England, or isn't that Bob?
I mean, World Cup is my favourite thing in the world, but I think next year they're going to combine this international break and the previous one into one international break, and that'll be a lot better. I think these two international breaks just come too early in the season when you're trying to get momentum. So I think just having the one joint one next year will be a lot better. But England, I'm not really that impressed with England under Tuchel, to be honest with you. To be fair, there was a good result away in Serbia, but that's been the only game so far. Other than that, I think it's been, you know, pretty pedestrian from England, and I'll be surprised if we trouble anything at the World Cup next year, but we'll see. Yeah, so a lot of players going on. De Ligt's not, which is an interesting one. He and Koeman have had some sort of massive. I don't even know, is it falling out or just Koeman doesn't like him? Because I've not seen anything about falling out, but there is something going on there. But he should obviously be in that squad, but he's not, and I find that odd. But probably good news for us because, you know, we need these players back at Carrington preparing for this game. Not that, you know, it might do us any good, but it's Anfield and Liverpool on a 3-game losing streak. So in the normal world, you'd think this is the perfect time to play them, but in Man United's world, this is probably the perfect time for them to play us. They are a weird team this season, Liverpool, in that they, you know, look like they were going to run with the league despite not playing well in any of their games, but winning them all because of last-minute winners. And now they kind of seems to be reverting to some sort of mean where they're on the receiving end of last-minute winners. What have you made of them so far this season?
I honestly can't work them out. Yeah, it looked like a fortnight ago they were going to run away with the league. They were probably going to do a really good job in the Champions League and get far, which of course they still might do. But in the league, I don't know, it's just been weird because there's been games where they look like they've won them easy. There's been games where they've won in the last minute, which, you know, changes the narrative to, oh, this is what champions do kind of thing. Whereas, yeah, the last 2 weeks, losing late to Palace, losing late to Chelsea. I watched the game against Chelsea on Saturday and I didn't think there was a clear winner, if I'm being honest. Chelsea played really well first half, but second half Liverpool definitely did come into it a lot more, and when the game was petering out, I did think a draw was probably a fair result. It's always nice to see them lose, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Saturday I did think they played all right, but lost. I watched actually the Galatasaray game as well. I didn't think they were very good there at all. And Galatasaray should have won by more than 1-0. Osimhen missed one fantastic chance in the second half, and a couple of their wide players had good chances each as well. And even against Palace, I only saw that on Match of the Day, but most of the chances were Palace, like cutting them apart, making really good opportunities at pace and on the break. Wharton played really well in the midfield that day as well, and I just think they are there to be got at. But as you said, I am so nervous going to Anfield anyway at the best of times, but the fact that they are on the back of 3 losses in a row does make me very nervous that coming back in from the international break, they're going to want to put that right as soon as possible. But having said all that, if you just look at the team, I think they are incredible up front. They still are, whatever anybody wants to state. They're still brilliant up front with such good players. I know Wirtz is on this 007 thing that Sancho was on, but he's coming up against us next, so I really wouldn't be surprised if that's not a thing anymore after they play us. The one area I do think they can be got at, and this is off of the back of the games I've seen recently, is in the defence. I think they're struggling without Kerkez there. I think they're struggling without a proper right back there because Szoboszlai's having to fill in at times at right back. I don't think Konate's playing particularly well. I think his head's been turned by chat that he's going to go on a free to Madrid next summer. I don't think he's playing great. Van Dijk's still very good, but I think he can be got at as well. So I do think they are there to be got at, and I just think we need to be brave enough to try and start as fast as possible. But yeah, I mean, I'm always nervous going to Anfield. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, it's the game I like least of a season, and I'd rather it just be over and someone tell me what happened. But yeah, it's. I think he'll. I mean, on the one hand, you kind of want to start fast like we have been doing again, but the other kind of on the other flip, you kind of want to just kill the game for the first 20 minutes, and not let them get.
Neville says that all the time, doesn't he? That just go to Anfield and shut them up for 20 minutes.
I think there's something in that because you can turn it into a bit of a library if nothing happens for the first 20 minutes. I think he'll start Cunha up front. I have a feeling he'll go with Cunha, Mount, and Mbeumo. I think he'll think about the Arsenal game, which he references the Arsenal game all the time. Amram loves that Arsenal game.
Even
the most I've ever seen a manager love a game we lost.
Yeah.
And so I think he'll sort of go for that approach again, and I can see it being, Cunha, him relying on Cunha in that top middle position to make things happen, basically, as we look to be a bit more solid at the back. So that's my prediction. I think Sesko will be benched, which is a bit unfortunate because he's just scored 2 in 2 games, but I can sort of see why he'd take that approach. And then I think the rest of the team kind of picks itself at the moment. Any predictions on that from you?
No, up front is actually the most interesting part to me as well, because I can see both things happening where, as you said, Cunha up front and then Mount and Mbeumo in the 10s. I can absolutely see that, where we push 3 really high and all those have got great engines and work hard and try and press like crazy. And as I said, I don't think their back 4 is particularly settled at the moment. So I can see that being something that we try and expose, is try and send 3 guys like that up against their back 4 and just try and harry them and press them as much as possible. And it is unfortunate because that means Sesko's benched after 2 and 2. But I can see the logic in that, definitely. But I can also see the logic in... So we're just saying about the Sunderland game at the weekend where we changed it up and we went long. I can see logic in that as well, where if they still stick with Sesko, but we say it's more to try and control the fact that instead of just letting them dictate the ball on the deck, anytime we get the ball, we're going to try and just hit them over the top and get after them, because as much as it's totally different from back when, say, Van Gaal or Mourinho were in charge, that is what we did to Liverpool then against Klopp's teams, and Ole did it to Klopp's teams, where because they try and play that really high pressing style as well with so much energy, so many times when we played them, whether it was under one of those 3 managers, every single time it was just ball over the top, pin them back and work off of that and then go from there, and it does work. So that's the most interesting aspect for me, is are they going to stick with Sesko, and that's going to be the tactic. Anytime one of the defenders gets it or the goalie gets it, instead of mucking about trying to go through the midfield, just bypass everything and just go along and just see how many knock-ons we win. Or bench Sesko, and as you said, go with those three, with Cunha up top, and just press like crazy for the first 45 minutes, the first hour, and just try and win the ball back as high as possible and then pin them back from there. Midfield, I'm worried about, to be honest, because I do think Gravenberch is a fantastic player. I think McAllister's excellent. I do think their midfield is very, very good. And I'm not sure we've just got the personnel at all to really cope with that. So the midfield battle, I'm already worried about, just because I do think it will be probably Bruno and Casemiro. If Casemiro can avoid any silliness or whatever, I do think that can be good for us, but I'm just not confident in the midfield. Wing backs, I'd probably rather, for this game, because of the way it's going to go, I would drop Dalot and I'd play Mazraoui right wing back, and I'd just play Dorgu left wing back. At least one side you're going to have tons of energy with Dorgu. Right wing back, it's going to just be that little bit more solid with Mazraoui there. And then the back three, as you said, I think just keep the same back three from the weekend and the same goalie. I wouldn't muck about too much for going to this game at Anfield and trying to change too much defensively. But midfield, as in the two wing backs, the two sitters, and up front, I can see a lot of combinations happening.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Amarin does. One way that Chelsea exploited Liverpool was using Cucurella really high because Salah doesn't track back. So I wonder if we'll take the same approach with our wing back, kind of make them cheat a bit. But the problem is the delivery from our left wing back this season, whether it's been Dorgu or Dalot, has been mixed at best. So we'll see how that goes. And I don't know if Mazraoui going to be fit for this game. I think he might come.
I hope so.
You'd hope so, but I don't know if he'll come straight back in. So we'll see on that one. There's a lot of things working against us for this game, though. That would be, not winning 2 games on the bounce in forever. So there's that. There's the fact that I keep thinking about the City we had earlier this season, where we were going up to the Etihad and people thinking, City can be got at, we can get it, and then they just dispatched us 3-0, and it kind of has that air about it for me. Like we're going to Anfield, they're not in a great moment. If we were anything near in a great moment, we'd go there and we'd just dispatch them and we'd win. But that's not us at the moment, and it's always just one step short from going a bit pear-shaped. And yeah, going to Anfield's not the best at the best of times, and so yeah, I'm pretty worried about this game.
Yeah, I do think as well, you're right saying Chelsea adjusted with Cucurella, but I also think whether it was the way Chelsea have got a result, I thought Arsenal played really well against them, and it's a worldie of a free kick that stops them getting a draw at Anfield. But the thing that the two of those teams have that we don't is an excellent midfield. And as I said, first half I thought Chelsea were excellent against Liverpool, restricted them to very, very little. And whether that's because they've got Caicedo or Fernandes or even Lavia to come in, that's a really strong, hard-working midfield that's really hard to penetrate. And then Arsenal's midfield is excellent as well, whether it's Rice and then any combination of whoever they decide to play with Rice. And yeah, that's the reason I'm worried more than anything, to be honest. I just look at their midfield and I know they're not in a great moment, but their midfield is excellent and ours just is not. And yeah, that's not going to be addressed in the next fortnight anyway, because that's going to have to be something that we do in the transfer window. But that does make me worried.
I think it's a massive game for Hammer in this. You get a win against Liverpool at Anfield, that's going to go a long way for you in this job. But if he loses this, I think it's going to be straight back on the when is he getting sacked talk again. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen, as you and Nick discussed last week. It won't happen till November, but I think if we lose this game and we lose it badly, that talk will really accelerate, because losing to Liverpool at Anfield is not good when you're Man United. So it's a massive game for him, and just winning 2 games on the bounce would be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially, and we've got a fairly unfortunate run of games coming up, even after this one. So we've got Liverpool next, and then after that, I think we've got Brighton at home, which is a game we never win, ever. And Brighton aren't even that great this season, but we never win that. Then we got Forest away. I mean, Forest aren't great, but who knows how Ange might have them playing by then.
I'm telling you, Ange will be gone by then. And then it'll be their next manager that comes in and they'll get the
new manager bounce.
Traditional manager bounce against Man United. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then we got Spurs away, who Spurs love to beat us these days. Apparently, they do it every single time.
As well. And they are flying.
Well, I mean, I watched that game against Leeds, and I didn't think they weren't particularly good, and I thought Leeds probably could have beaten them, but they're seeming to find ways to win.
Yeah,
games.
That's more what it is. It's that belief, and I'm not on about winning the league or anything like that, but it's just a belief in the team that no matter what's happening on the pitch, there's a belief that you're still in the game. That you can actually do things. And to be fair to Thomas Frank, he does seem to have instilled that in them, where even if they're not playing very well, they stick in there and they get results.
Yeah, so it's a big run coming up for us, so we'll see what happens. But this game, obviously this game against Liverpool is absolutely massive. You can give a prediction if you want, or you can just cower behind the sofa. I'm going to cower behind the sofa and not even try to think about what happens. What are you going to say?
I'll say, unfortunately, a battling 3-1 loss.
We will definitely miss a big chance in this game. I just don't know when it's going to happen. At some point, we're going to miss a massive chance.
See the chance Chelsea scored from at the weekend? That'll be a chance we have in the game where there's a ball goes loose in the box and all somebody's got to do is hit the target, and whoever it is that's running at the ball, you just know it's going miles too high into the cop, and that'll be it.
Well, hopefully we are wrong on this, and United will give a rousing win. But we'll be back after that game. Follow us on socials, Twitter, X if you will, Instagram, Blue Sky, all the good stuff. Facebook as well. We're on Facebook. Nick does that one because he's an old man. Right, and we'll be back after the Liverpool game. But for now, cheers, Jamie.
Cheers, Imran, and cheers, Trip.